Good evening, everybody. We'd like to call this board meeting January 19th of 2022 to order. If I can get a roll call, please, Mr. Sloan.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Here.
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Here.
Mrs. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Mundy?
Here.
We can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. We'll start with the introductions tonight. All the way to my left, your right, Nathan Mundy, board member. Don Henry, board member. Dr. Andrea Townsend, our superintendent. My name is Joe Cox. To my right is Leslie Miller, John Llewellyn, board members, and Ryan Sloan, our treasurer. And in our audience tonight, we have Melissa Tice, our assistant superintendent, Devin Berry, our Director of Human Resources, Jack Haig, our business manager, and then we've got, Julie's back there, Ms. Jones, and Dr. Myers with curriculum. Okay, it is recommended that the agenda for the January 19th, 2022 meeting be adopted and presented. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Sloan.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Mundy?
Yes.
It is recommended that the minutes of the reorganization and the regular meetings held on January 5th, 2022 be approved as submitted. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sloan.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Mundy?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes. We don't have any comment from the public relating to agenda items, so we'll move on to number 8, our student rep report. Mr. Llewellyn.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. We have Shabri with us tonight. Our other two reps couldn't make it tonight, but Shabri's just going to share briefly with us, and then she's also going to talk for just a second about the time of year that it is for us to start looking at student reps for 22-23. So, Shabri, take it away.
Hi, I'm Shabri. Very, very brief, but me and the other student reps are going to start working with Mr. Llewellyn on making like a student rep handbook, so future student reps will know what this responsibility entails, what we'll have to do, and things, and just starting the process for looking for new student reps. But other than that, not much other else to report for today.
All right, thank you. Just to kind of add to that, the other thing that I want to, both Leslie, myself, and the three of them involved in is kind of just looking at how we've been choosing them as well, and see if they have some ideas for something we're missing to get more candidates and more interest involved in it. So we'll be picking their brain about that kind of thing too. But definitely here in February and into March, probably looking at a little bit longer with how these things are working out, cases and quarantines and such. Probably going to need to give more time as well for the application process than we normally have. So just to make sure people get a chance to apply if they want to. So, but for the other thing I would just add is our roundtable that we have, which is a kind of a collaboration of 3 other districts. We're going to be meeting at the end of the month as well, and then we'll have some details in February, March about an opportunity to speak to some of our legislators. So that's coming up as well. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much for the update. All right, we have our communications update with Ms. Janine.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to remind everyone the different ways that we send out communication or put things out. You have the website, westcarrolltonschools.com. Our official Facebook page is West Carrollton City Schools, and Twitter is WC City Schools. Before I get started, I wanted to mention Charles Wolf. I mentioned him at the last school board meeting that he had passed away. Since that time, I read his obituary, and it was so sweet because in lieu of flowers, he requested, or his family requested, contributions be made to Harry Russell for their literacy and reading program. So his legacy continues. I love that. So, School Board Appreciation Month, of course, that is continuing. And I know you all have a sweet treat at your space. Just wanted to thank everyone again for all they do, both here on Wednesday nights and throughout the month and the year. Again, the state of the district, if you did not get that in your mailbox and you're a district resident, you can contact me because we need to check the street. Need to see why it's not getting delivered. There's certain streets that are on the borders. There's people that get it that don't live in the district, but sometimes in the district they don't get it. So if you didn't, but you want to see it, it is at westcarrolltonschools.com under the district news. And there's a few stories I wanted to catch you up on that I hadn't really talked about prior. And this is Isabel, and I wanted you to meet her. She's a 6th grade student at the middle school, and she was the top contributor for the food pantry. And the middle school gives gift cards to their top 3 contributors. And Isabel, there she is with her gift card. But when she received it, she says, "Oh, I don't really need it. My parents have a good job. I have everything I need." And she handed that gift card right back, no hesitation, "Give this to the food pantry." So that's just an awesome story, an awesome pirate. It's what being a pirate is about. And the boys' basketball team, I wanted to mention them. They won their game at Troy last Friday, 71-59. And they ended the game with only one of their 5 usual starting players. So that was really quite an accomplishment. And Ronald Dowds, he had a really good night, and he was interviewed by Dave Fisher, who's the sports director for WTJN following the game. And I didn't bring the audio file, but Ronald did a great job. In fact, such a great job that Mr. Fisher sent an email about Ronald to Athletic Director Evan Ivory, which stated, "West Carrollton High School should be proud, well-spoken, and engaging." And he really did do an awesome job with that interview, but he also was very quick to credit the entire team, not just his performance that evening. This is a picture of the team when they got to play at or on the Cleveland Cavaliers court. And that was an outreach program through the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they got to play another high school team that was from New York. And it was the North Star Christian Academy. And the Pirates, of course, they won that game too, 62-58. So we're really proud of the players. Of course, the girls' basketball team, they're continuing to really do well. All of our sports teams, we just want to take a moment to congratulate them on their performances. Today was the career fair at the high school, and students had the opportunity to meet representatives from different companies and different branches of the military. And West Carrollton had representatives from the fire and police department that included our own SRO officer, Osborne. There were a number of colleges and universities represented, and they provided information about specific programs they had available at their school. And there was also information about College Credit Plus. I just happened to get this story, or this picture, that goes along with the story that they are having a parent-student information night here at the high school that is sponsored by our counselors. It will be Thursday, February 3rd, at 5:30 in the high school auditorium. It is required for students who are planning to participate in CCP during the summer or during the 22-23 school year. And if you have any questions about that, you can contact any of the high school counselors. Also at the career fair was Shook Construction. That name is familiar, I know. They are building our schools, our new schools, and I included a picture of the pre-K1 building. I just love this picture, just the light on the building. It was just golden just on the building, and thought I would share that. As always, keep watching for information that comes directly from your child's school, along with weekly communication from Dr. Townsend. And just a reminder, temperatures are dropping, so make sure you have those coats, hats, mittens, gloves, scarves, and just another thought, wear reflective clothing or light-colored clothing, especially kids in the morning. Make sure they're visible to drivers during the darker hours. So that is what I had.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Townsend?
So January is School Board Recognition Month, and I have provided all of you with a thank you certificate for everything that you do and all the committees that you participate in, and Nate, all of the things that you will learn, and I've given you a sweet treat. So I apologize for the sugar coma you might get from that, but I hope you enjoy it, and just wanted to say thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
I don't think you're sorry for the sugar coma though, but what can you say?
You know I'm not a sweet eater, so sugar coma.
Thank you very much. All right, on to number 11. We have a presentation on curriculum update tonight.
I was told I need to do some stalling or performance while the slides change. I don't really have anything prepared other than this interpretive dance with Mr. Sloan. Maybe not. No, we'll pass on
Whoa,
that.
whoa, whoa.
By the way, Dr. Myers is going to speak more about the career fair. I totally forgot to say that earlier.
Good segue.
There you go.
You got Ryan off the hook,
And
so
I
that's
was
good.
trying to delay things for you.
Great, you did it wonderfully.
I really want to see Ryan dance.
I'm going to pay for this so much later. So I am going to talk with you today a little bit more in detail about the career fair, and the title of this presentation is Your Bright Future. I get really excited talking about these two topics of talking about pathways with students and exposing them to the opportunities and talking about the aptitudes they have and the interests they have and how we can put those two together to really get an overall fit and really have a meaningful conversation with students about the trajectory of their life and where they get to go once they leave us and go out into the real world. So we're going to start with one thing, which is called U-Science. This year, we tried to start this at the end of last year, but with how things were going, and we decided just to postpone until this year. We started a program called U-Science, which is an aptitude assessment. And we've all taken these before, where you sit down and you take an aptitude test and it tells you your likes, your dislikes, what your strengths, your weaknesses are, and maybe it'll give you some career fields that would be a good fit with those aptitudes. But sometimes you scratch your head and say, does this really fit with what I like? U-Science is an excellent program. It takes students through 12 to 14 diagnostic assessments, and it's sort of like brain games. It'll talk about reasoning, inferential reasoning, sequential reasoning, and it really gets into the details on how your mind works for that particular student. So I have up here, some of the things that they say, how's your mind wired? What makes you tick? Are you more of a spatial? Are you inferential? What are your strengths? What are your aptitudes? What are the things that you're naturally inclined to like? Because we all know that students may say, I want this career, but when they look at the aptitudes that it takes to be successful in that career, they don't always connect. So this year, we've given every single student at the high school the U-Science diagnostic, and they've been completing this during their advisory period. And so they go in there, they take those assessments, they're timed, they're very specific, and it starts giving them a report like you see a snapshot of up here. It'll say, here's your personal approach. You're a future focuser, you're maybe an extrovert, you're great at vocabulary, and it really starts to narrow down into these attributes that students have. And that wheel that says your talents, when you hover over any of those colors on the wheel, it'll show the specific strengths that student has. And so it takes those personal details, those aptitudes, and then it takes the student's interest, and then it gives them an overall fit within the program, which is why we really like this program. So, like I mentioned before, you may have strong strengths, or you may feel that this career field is definitely the right fit for you, but once you look at those aptitudes, you may get a whole new understanding of what it takes to be successful in a career like that. So this is just a little screenshot of somebody that, once we know their aptitudes and we know their interests, they can go and they can click on a button that says overall fit and start showing careers. And when you click on this link, once a student has completed all this assessment, they have access to this, and they can actually go in and see, okay, what type of education does this require to get to this career field? I know it's super hard to see on this, but it'll say 0 to 2 years, 4 years, or non-degree fields. So it's not we're pushing everybody into college. It's truly, here's what aligns with you. And I even brought my example here tonight. Once you complete the assessment, you get a 30-page, very, very detailed diagnostic that shows specifically your strengths and your weaknesses. And what I love is the back part of this even talks about, here's how you would do in school if you were to continue on. We've recognized you don't want to be in school forever, or you really enjoy school. You thrive in that type of setting. So even if, you wanted to go out and you had in mind to be in this career field, keep in mind your aptitudes are showing that you don't really enjoy school that much. So here are some other things you may want to consider. It's a really thoughtful approach. And the reason I'm talking about that, of course, is because it feeds right into our career fair. So this year we've been working on the U-Science part in the advisory periods. The students are working at that. And as soon as they're done, they get this strength profile, and they have that online access, and that lasts for the rest of high school. They'll just go in every year and do a small update to their profile. But it's something they can continue to use as they explore careers and then start to come into a decision on what their path is after high school. So along with that, we had our career fair today, and we haven't had a career fair for more than 3 years, understandably so. We just had COVID and everything, transitions happening at the high school. But we were excited to reboot the career fair. We had more than 37 tables, and Jeannie and I were talking about this after we both got back from the career fair. She covered a little bit of it. I'm going to go a little bit more in detail in a couple other pieces here. I also had a Shook picture because we wanted to highlight Shook showing up there with a huge display. We had colleges, universities, commercial businesses, some local businesses jumped in and asked to participate, and to their credit, to their, to kudos to them. We had a lot of businesses that showed up and was really interactive with our students and had a great experience. We had construction, emergency services, healthcare, engineering, public services, trades, etc. And it was really just, it made me excited. It made me feel like, hey, we're coming out of this. We can start to focus on these things and get students excited about their future. A big piece, which I have to give kudos to the counselors at the high school, we discussed what really makes a career fair work. And of course, it's priming the students and getting them to go in there and ask questions, very specific questions of the people that are there. So I know this is hard to see, but this is a snapshot of the paper that the students carried around along with the map of all of the tables that were there. And it has some sample questions, and they're leading questions so students feel comfortable going up to a table and saying, what are the skills required to get into construction? What are the skills required to be an EMT? And so students were going around asking these questions. went up to a couple of the people I know, of course, that were part of this, the presenters, and they looked a little, like they were answering a lot of questions, but like, it's good, but they're prepared. And I said, well, that's great. I mean, you're giving them the information that they really need to hear to start a spark and to get them thinking about their future. This is a lengthy list. I tried to squeeze it on a slide, but this just shows you, like I mentioned, we had more than 37 tables. We had a lot of people from the healthcare industry, a lot of local businesses, even two businesses last night were emailing me like, hey, is it too late for us to join? We're entrepreneurs and we want to come in. We're opening a business in Moraine and we want to be involved, and we let them participate. So it was a great reboot to our career fair, and we look forward to growing it again in the future and just continuing to improve on what we had today. Any questions?
Fantastic, by the way. It seems like you guys really are upgrading the idea of a fair, of a job fair, and really kind of asking those questions for those kids, and I mean, really kind of diving into that. I was wondering, that U-Science, I mean, I remember doing something like that. Is that a paid service, or is that a free service that's provided?
For the level we're doing it, we bought a subscription.
Okay.
It's very, very affordable as far as subscriptions go for things.
Yeah.
There is a free version out there you can look at.
Okay.
But the nice thing is, and I think even Mrs. Tice had her children do it when we were originally looking at it, it carries forward. It doesn't disappear once a child leaves high school. So it's something that it just continues to hang around.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Could you recap a couple of numbers to give us a scope of the involvement? How many students?
We had every student participate, including our cross-categorical students. We had them come in ahead of time and just had a little more free time to go around the tables and interact with the people that were there for the career fair. So we broke this up by advisories. We have 4 advisories, and we tried to balance that out. So it was a half an hour for each advisory period, so A, B, C, D. And so I think A has a little bit more than the other 3, but nonetheless, it was pretty evenly distributed. So every student was able to participate. And what we plan to do number-wise is I will be sending all of the participants a thank you and a follow-up survey to see how we can improve things in the future and how we can just continue to grow this as we look to next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Very nice.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to give you an update on our after-school intervention program. We ran this in the fall. We're getting ready to start our winter or second semester session on Monday, but this is a program that we used ESSER money with and realized that we had certainly some gaps, learning loss, and I can't believe it's going to be almost 2 years in March that we went home and had to do online learning at home. So this was, the ESSER money afforded us this ability to be able to have this after-school intervention program. And so some of the details about the program, just to share with you tonight, we ran it at our three elementaries, grades 1 through 3. We had 221 first, second, and third graders. We ran it with 22 teachers, and then we had 8 pre-service teachers from Wright State University assisting in the classrooms. We did have, of course, use data to target our groups and our ability levels, and our class size, which was really nice. We had 2 first grade, 2 second grade, and 2 third grade classes of no more than 15 students in each class, and then, of course, at each building. That after-school hour was comprised of math and ELA. Our 2 areas of focus, one for math was number sense, and phonics was the area of focus for ELA. We also provided transportation. We provided busing for the students, which obviously is certainly key to making sure that they the parents have a peace of mind that they're taken care of and they're going to be safe when they get home or getting home. We also were able to provide snacks as well. And so how we ran this was 6 weeks, Monday through Thursday. So a student would come all 4 days of the week, if possible. So our results were very positive, and I'm really excited to share the percent increases in these areas that we measured. So every student, we did some pre-testing and post-testing because we just wanted to gauge the level of success and how students were growing. So what you see on this slide in this table is the percent increase overall of all first graders, for example, in phonics. We had a 78% increase in phonics, and then you can go across the table and see how we did. And we also measured fluency and accuracy as well with reading, using a couple of other resources, additional resources to our ELA curriculum. And then with number sense, we had the greatest increase in third grade with that percent increase of 55%. We used curriculum materials that were familiar with the teachers and also with the students, so it wasn't a real heavy lift for the teachers. We did get a lot of interest in them volunteering. They were paid for the after-school hour. And as we embark on semester 2, some areas of focus that we're going to improve, we're going to add grades 4 and 5. And that, I just got the teacher list of who's going to do that hour of intervention, and so we've got every grade covered at every building, now 1 through 5. So that was very nice to see our teachers wanting to give that extra time. We are going to have better defined outcomes. So now that we've kind of seen what percent increases in content that the students have that we've measured, we want to make sure that we're really dialing in to their needs in those areas of ELA and math. We're going to explore some additional teaching resources, and then also we had a couple of parents contact the teachers and ask, what else can I do at home? What else can I, as I continue this, as you are doing the intervention, how can I continue that intervention at home? So that was certainly a positive response from the parents. So our next session starts on Monday, on the 24th, and it will run for 8 weeks through the middle of March, a week before spring break. So, are there any questions?
I just have a quick question. I'm an alumni here, and in my high school years, I did horrible in algebra. But when I was switched to geometry, I aced the class. So, over the research, it's showing that there is two definite the way the mind is built. One is very analytical and very number-oriented. The other is very much like area-oriented. Where do you start seeing this with our grade school kids? I know basic math goes up through 5th or 6th grade, but then you start getting into the specialized stuff in that direction. When do you start seeing that development in our kids?
Really, in 1st grade, there are some algebraic concepts that are taught at that 1st grade level in the standards, and so you could actually see patterns in each grade level, the scaffolding starting all the way from 1st grade on that build up to where they really start algebraic thinking in 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So number sense is huge. That is really the foundation of knowing fractions, decimals, percents, being able to calculate quickly and having those strategies in mind so they're not eventually fumbling over, basic math facts. And so we really feel that is the appropriate topic to start. Number sense is in all the standards, really in all of the grade levels. So we know that's an area that we really need to reinforce.
I often wondered if that would have been in place when I was in school, how that would have changed my life, because I just don't get the advanced algebra stuff. I don't need to know what X and Y and all that kind of good stuff
Well,
is.
and that's very abstract. And so another part of our one plan, which we are, and in my point of exploring additional teaching resources, we want to bring in concrete models. So the pathway is learning it concretely, and then representational pictures, and then abstract. And that's something that has been missing in some of our classrooms, and so that is, on that topic, that's what we want to make sure that we are using in the classroom, with it, especially with this after-school intervention program.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
I have two questions. One has to do with your comment about adding 4th and 5th grade. Do you have a sense so far as to, do you already have a roster of how many kids are participating in 4th and 5th
Not
grade?
yet. We haven't finalized the roster, so all three of the principals are working to get all of the information out to the families. We filled up with 221 students in the first semester. That was almost 30 at every single grade level, and in every single building. So we filled the spaces up almost to capacity. So I'm going to be hopeful and think that we would have that same similar turnout, because I think the students, as you can see from the data, really benefited from this program.
My other question has to do with, and I I don't see very well, so if this was up there, I apologize. I don't think it was, though. Would you have a breakdown of how many of those 221 kids were maybe English second language type students that were?
We would, yes. I don't have it in the slide, but yes, we could break down, our subgroups of who benefited and who was a part of our after-school intervention program. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also have two questions.
Sure.
The first one is, okay, so for the people that don't know, what's phonics? What is that?
Phonics is, in a nutshell, it is learning the blends and sounds of single letters and then blends of more than 2 letters or 2 letters or more, so that students have that capability of sounding words out versus just word recognition, where it's kind of a whole language or a whole word philosophy, I guess, that instead of just memorizing sight words are still part of our educating students to read. Phonics is that breakdown of those sounds, so that they can begin to sound words out and see patterns with that sound.
I see. Wow, that's pretty neat. I didn't know. So my second question, I was wondering, do you have like a 3-year plan of like how you want to grow this, or?
Yes. So, so our one plan is actually a 3-year plan, and it district-wide that this particular program came out of in our planning. So, our next focuses would be a middle school intervention program and a high school. Now, they are running after-school intervention programs. They're just using it more for homework help, and just any reinforcement that students might want. It's just not quite as detailed as our grades 1 through 5 program is. So that would be the next steps to making sure that we include really 5, 6 in our intermediate, 7, 8, and then our 9 through 12, our high school.
Wow, very cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Everybody else good? All right. Continuing on to our business part of the meeting. Item number 12, Mr. Berry.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the following personnel items. Item 12A, conditionally employ 3 substitute teachers for the 2021-2022 school year, pending approval by the Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation and Consensual Drug Screening, as required by Ohio Revised Code 3319.291 and the policies of the West Carrollton City School District. Item 12B, amend the listed paid leave of absence. And item 12C, grant an unpaid leave of absence to the listed individual in accordance with the provisions of the Family Medical Leave Act.
I will need a motion and a second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Sloan?
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Item number 13, Mr. Berry.
13, the superintendent recommends that the board approve the following personnel items. Item 13A, amend the supplemental pupil activity contract to the listed individuals for the 2021-2022 school year.
Need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
roll call. Mr. Sloan?
Mrs. Miller,
Abstain.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Item number 14, Mr. Berry.
Item 14, the superintendent recommends that the board approve the following personnel items. Item 14A, accept the termination of the listed individual. Item 14B, accept the ratification of the resignation of the following, of the listed individual for retirement purposes. And item 14C, accept the resignation of the 2 listed individuals. And item 14D, conditionally employ the listed individuals pending approval by the Bureau of Criminal Identification and Investigation and Consensual Drug Screening as required by Ohio Revised Code 3319.291 and the policies of the West Carrollton City School District. Item 14E, accept the promotion of the listed individual. Item 14F, amend the leave of absence to the listed individual in accordance with the provisions of the Family Medical Leave Act. 14G, grant an unpaid leave of absence to the listed individual and grant a paid medical leave of absence to the listed individual.
I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sloan, roll call.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Anything you'd like to add? You good? Great, thank you. Item number 15, Mr. Sloan.
thank you. I ask that the board approve the financial items as presented. Item A, purchase orders requiring then and now certification and the December 2021 financial reports.
I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Mundy,
Yes.
Anything you'd like to add?
These are the reports, so we're halfway through the year. These are the reports July through December, and we're running a little bit ahead of estimates, so things are running well the first 6 months of the year.
Thank you very much. On to comments and reports. And do we have any committee reports this evening?
Not really. I'm going to share 2 quick things, but they're not really reports. The Finance Committee will meet in February, so we'll definitely have something to share about that. And that'll be next month. And then I'm keeping an eye on the legislature. There are a couple of things that the governor has signed already, but we could talk about. But I've also put in a request for Mr. Brenner, who is one of the chairs for the Education Committee in the Senate, for a chance to kind of see what they start to talk about, because they haven't met. Neither one of the House or Senate Education Committees have met in 2022 yet. So I'm going to be curious to see what they take up. There are a couple of bills that they did end the year with in December, but I'm trying to find out from them what they're going to start looking at for the spring, and so far I'm not getting much of a response. But I'm at least on an email list, so I'll be able to kind of let us get a glance at what the committees look at, because that often turns into legislation that the whole body votes on. So that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. All right, comments from our superintendent, Dr. Townsend.
Great, thank you. First off, I'd like to thank the businesses who came today to the career fair. It meant a lot to our students, and I'm glad they all got to participate. I'd also like to thank all of my staff for their flexibility and willingness to convert during COVID in the past 23 months. I appreciate all of you. And also, I'd like to thank the board for Board Appreciation Month. And then finally, look for some more information regarding tours for the ECC and CF Holiday. The principals are in the process of planning those, and you'll be able to visit the buildings before demolition. So, thank you.
Mr. Sloan, do you have anything?
Just regarding Board Appreciation Month, just want to say thank you to all of you board members for all the time and service that you give to the district. You have a thankless job, and I appreciate the support you've given me and to the district as a whole.
Thank you. Comments from the West Carrollton Education Association, ladies?
Good evening. It is great to be here. And before I read a letter to you on behalf of WCEA, I would like to say a personal thank you to board members, to our superintendent, for keeping us in person, and also for the COVID updates that we all know are ever changing. I mean, it's fluid, right? As I look at you, I sat here and I was like, oh my gosh, the majority of you up here that are board members, at one point I have either coached or educated your child or your children, or I'm currently educating your child in the classroom. And now, oh my gosh, I look over here and I see a former student that is a board member. And I can add, I have taught a board member to my repertoire. So that's super exciting for me. Mr. Mundy, oh, it's so good to see you. It's a pleasure and honor to be part of this district. I am a proud pirate. And with that being said, I am here to read a letter on behalf of WCEA. Last year, the WCEA addressed the board asking that they and their family members stop posting disparaging remarks on social media. We felt, and we still feel, that these remarks misrepresent the teachers of the district and the job that they do every day to provide a safe, respectful, and responsible learning environment for our students. Unfortunately, it's been brought to our attention that certain school board members and their spouses have continued to make these negative comments about West Carrollton teachers on social media. WCEA feels that this is not only an inaccurate depiction of our teachers, but it also sends a divisive message to our community. These comments undermine the work that the district as a whole is striving to achieve on behalf of our students. We ask that the school board encourage and support teachers rather than belittle them and the hard work that they do for our district. In closing, we are asking once again for these pernicious, unprofessional remarks by the board and family members to cease, and hope to move forward with a more positive dialogue with our community about the teachers and the district of West Carrollton schools on social media. We ask that we be treated with the respect that we have earned as professionals. If there's ever a question or a concern that any board member has, we ask that it be addressed through the proper channels that have been established. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for everything else that you do for us. Good night. Thank you. Oh, your WCEA membership.
We have no comments from the classified. We'll go to central office. Mr. Berry.
Just wanted to thank the board. I think Ryan said enough already, but I'd like to thank you all for the hours and the time that you put in this business. When we look and we see that many school districts can't or struggle to fill board positions, you all have taken a challenge to come into them.
Thank you. Ms. Tice?
Yeah, I would echo those same thoughts. We appreciate the work that you do. We know it's a, as you say, thankless job. We understand that, and we very much appreciate your support.
Thank you. Mr. Haig?
Yeah, thank you to the board. Also, thank you to Mr. Myers, the high school administration, staff, and students that worked so hard to put that career fair on today. I was over there early, before it began, watching people set up and listen to comments, and sounds like it came off very well, and I'm really proud of all of them for doing that and supplying that to our, not just our students, but our community who's desperately looking for people to take up their careers right now. Real quick update on the buildings, just so you know, we've got our permanent electric is hooked up now at the PK1, and it should be hooked up by Friday in the 5-6. That's a huge step because now they can start powering breaker boxes, which means if you're in the PK1, we have our lights are working in the ceiling grids. They've got ceiling grids are in all the first floor classrooms, all of the administration, all walls are painted. They're putting floor tile down in classrooms right now. They're working on painting the ceiling in the gym. They should be filling the HVAC system at the PK1 and firing up the boilers hopefully by Friday for a test run on them to make sure they're going to fire up, run, and test for leaks. So we're moving along really, really well right now. The work inside is amazing to see. You got electricians and plumbers, and you got drywallers, and you got the ceiling folks, and you got the HVAC, and you got the computer people. It's just amazing to see all the different trades in there and staying out of each other's way while still accomplishing quite a bit. And they're kind of working their way from the far end of the building down towards the heart of the building as they go. And hopefully we'll have casework delivered here in 2 weeks. So they'll start putting in cabinets and cubbies, and the PK1 and the 5-6 should see the same thing about a week after that. So it's exciting and it's amazing. And I think that when I was there Tuesday for our progress meeting, I think they said there's 90 days until they're hoping to get occupancy permits for it, which they're shooting for mid-April for that. So that way we'll be set to move staff into those buildings as soon as the school year is complete.
Well, while I've got you talking, let me ask you a quick question. I've been asked about buying bricks from the buildings as memorabilia.
How about we give them away?
Some folks want to donate some money. Maybe we should say.
The community already paid for those bricks back when it was 60 or 70 years ago, so we will let them have them back. But the plan will be that as we do it, we'll set aside a public area outside the construction zone where people can come and pick them up, and we'll keep replenishing that as we go if we need to.
And what are you thinking about items that we're going to be able to use or auction off? Bits and pieces, parts, boilers, things like that.
Not really auctioning it off because that's part of the demo plan.
Okay.
When they bid that, they bid knowing what's staying and what's not staying. The exception to that will be one of the boilers in CF Holiday. We'll be selling it.
So that one's pretty new.
And then we're pulling some of the kitchen equipment out. It's still in pretty good shape. Not a lot of it is, but some of it. And we'll be transferring it to other buildings and then getting rid of some older stuff from other buildings. We had to make those arrangements in advance before they took the bids for the demolition, because demolition, part of that is recycling and reselling whatever they can.
Right.
Because that drops their price down knowing what they can get out of it.
Okay. And then what about a walkthrough before the buildings come down?
That's the principals are working on that. It's what Dr. Townsend talked about. We handed that off to the schools. They know better than we do. I know that they were shooting for Saturdays, doing them on a Saturday. I don't know if they've come up with a date yet on that. But we're meeting with them tomorrow. We can ask that question tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, we have nothing from the public tonight, so we'll move on to board members. Mr. Mundy, you can go first tonight.
Well, hello. I'll be quick. I just wanted to first thank you and WCEA for coming and speaking. I also wanted to comment, not last weekend, but the weekend before, I went to a training for new board members. Fantastic training, learned so much. I made a bunch of notes and I'll share them with you guys. Just very excited about, really diving into the amazing things that we can do. The last thing I'll say, I like doing quotes. It's a thing I really want to dive into. It's something I love. So I have a quick quote from a guy that we might know a little bit. His name is Martin Luther King. He had a special day, a few days ago. And his quote was, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" What a fantastic quote that he said. And it makes you think, do more than yourself. Always look out for other people. Always do something for somebody else. Because if everyone does that, then the whole world is a better place. So I just wanted to make that quick comment, and thank you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Mr. Henry.
Tom Wolf left me with a challenge to deal with the Miami Valley Career Technical Center. And I'm overwhelmed. There's 17, I'm one of 17 board members for that school. There's so much positivity, it's just overwhelming. They too are going through a construction phase, as we are here in West Carrollton, except it's much larger and they're further along. They started sooner than we did. And they're dealing with some of the challenges that Mr. Hagg presented to us tonight that are coming along, almost right on target, both financially and on the calendar. But there are some hurdles yet to be addressed and resolved, and we've talked about them in different meetings. If the boilers fly, that's great. If there's difficulty, that kind of is going to be a step back to resolve whatever issue or issues might be determined. And these are usually by not just does it work, does it meet the criteria of all the agencies, from the city government to the county government to the state government, about how these things function. And ultimately, that creates a healthy environment for our students and our staff and our community members. So there's a lot going to take place in the next 90 days. If someone would greet you in one of our existing buildings saying, "Step aside, please, we need to walk through here with this material," please give them the courtesy of controlling our adults and our students so that we have no injuries in our two construction sites. That's so important because the media has to report their findings, but we wish they didn't have anything to report. So enough said. But anyhow, at the Career Technical Center and its construction project, our two projects here in West Carrollton, they are such pluses. I don't know what else to say. It's moving and it's good stuff. No other committee reports.
Well, I wanted to wish the girls basketball team good luck tonight. They were at Tip City, so hopefully they brought home a win for us. They've been doing such a great job. I know we talked about the boys, but the girls are right up there with them, so it would be great to have a win brought back tonight. And as for sports, spring sports right around the corner. Please get those final forms filled out. And I know that I received an email from Mrs. Earl, and she's going to start putting out information about spring sports and what our training is going to be like and when our start dates are and all the rest of that. So do look for that. And I wanted to do a thank you to Mr. Hagg. You have done a fabulous job with our building program, and it has been a long drawn-out process, and it's still not over, but you are in the home stretch, and I do appreciate everything. You do a lot of work behind the scenes that no one sees. So I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate it. And that's it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Don, I don't think I'm going to be out of line to say this, but on behalf of the rest of us, we really appreciate you taking on the MVCTC role.
Thank you, John. Let me suggest that my assignment is for 12 months. It's to finish.
And then Nate can take over,
I was
right?
going to say, is Mr. Monday in training for that?
Vacancy created with Tom Wolf's retirement from our school board.
Right.
So I have a 12-month assignment. Start thinking about how you'd like to join the fun.
Put that in the notes.
Again, I
Yep.
appreciate your effort, and hopefully it'll grow on you quite a bit this year, and you'll decide you just want to keep going like
The good
Tom did.
news is it's a 3-year term instead of a 4-year term.
Right. Well, I certainly, I also appreciate the information we learned about the career fair and all the work from everybody involved. To get 37 businesses, I don't know how that compares to before COVID or before, if there were fairs in the past, but 37 seems a pretty remarkable number. My guess is, too, that there aren't a lot of these happening because of everything. The last couple of years, there haven't been a lot of fairs that I know there used to be career fairs posted everywhere, and you don't really see that much of that. So hopefully that helped too, the fact they could even be out and talk to kids who are interested. So I'm sure that didn't hurt us any, but really appreciate your effort there. And I will pretty much halt what I'm going to say at that, but I would just mention to the WCA, this is the second time you've come and spoke to us about this, and I don't really know all that's involved in your comments, but I do believe that part of them were probably aimed at my spouse. I don't know of anyone on the board here, to my knowledge at least, that said anything negative that would concern you. Perhaps my wife is the only target of that, I don't know. But I will prepare a statement in the meeting we have in February to address your concerns. I assure you of that. And I appreciate you guys coming and speaking to us. Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I've got to say tonight is, as a board member going into my fifth year, I've heard some comments over the last couple of weeks from some parents about the mask thing being a power grab and how our kids should be without masks and why are we, anyways, things of that sort. I just want everybody to know that I know the folks up here on this board. I know a lot of the administration staff. I know a ton of teachers. And everything that we do, not only as a board, as administration, or as staff of the school, is for your kids and their safety and our staff and their safety. I had to tell a parent who got a little aggressive with me that you don't have to go to bed tonight wondering if one of the 3,400 students may die because of a decision that I make with the group of 4 others, 5 others, 7, 10, 12, whatever that looks like. As advisories from different administration staff, coming from directions from teachers, coming from our superintendent to give us numbers, our nursing staff to give us numbers. Your kids are in our best interest. Keeping them in school is our best interest for them, for our teachers, for our staff. We're doing everything we can do to keep them safe. Please be kind with your comments. I lay in bed at night sometimes wondering if we made the right decision in certain cases. Was the one day last week, great for everybody? It wasn't. Some comments were made that it's kind of odd that we're going to be preparing for an outbreak, but in all reality, we were looking at a 5-day window to give those that were sick or those that were exposed a chance to recuperate and to get back in. I know we're down huge numbers in staff. I don't know what the numbers are today, but at one time it was over 70 staff members in the district, not even counting the kids. And I know that that is an inconvenience to some because you work, I get it. I own 2 companies. I've got a kid in West Carrollton and I've got a kid at Ohio University. You know, I deal with myself on a lot of fronts, but we also have your kids in the best of interest. So please be kind in your comments and please try to understand what we're doing. And, you know, this is new to us too. None of us have been through this before, and now we're going into, somebody said, we're working on on year number 2 coming up. It's just crazy to me that we're going to be stepping into things that we still don't know about. Some of the new stuff that's coming out, we don't know what the variants are. We don't know if the boosters are going to work. We don't know anything. We're just taking from the best advice that we can get from leading authorities that are out in the classrooms, administration that's out, seeing the numbers, the state, the local, federal government. So please be patient with us. That's all I've got to say tonight. We don't have an executive meeting tonight. There will be no work session. So I will entertain a motion and a second to end our meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Sloan?
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Mr. Llewellyn?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Mundy?
Yes.